Come on now, get up, dance, smile, rejoice, and be glad, because what we thought was the end was only the beginning. Our story is not done and it's not over, because we have taken back the pen and we are rewriting our story. So let's go ahead on, celebrate, dance, shout, rejoice, be glad, do whatever it is that you want to do that makes you feel good on today. Because again, what was thought, what was the end, was only the beginning. So this episode is actually dedicated to Miss York, a friend of mine, because she unknowingly gave me this prompt for this week episode. We were at the library just sitting and talking, and she told me, she said, your delay is not your denial. And when she said that, it really hit me, and I began to ponder on that phrase, that my delay is not my denial. And I began to reflect and understand that in the journey of faith, the experience of waiting often evokes feelings of frustration and doubt. It is during these periods of silence that questions can emerge. Has God forgotten me? Or why is my prayers not being answered? These feelings are actually not rare, but they are an innate part of our human experience. As I browsed my waiting periods, I found myself struggling with uncertainty and impatience, eager for immediate resolutions to my prayers. However, in moments of heartfelt reflection, I recognize that these delays have a greater purpose, a divine curriculum designed to encourage growth and deepen my dependence on God's time. Writing offers deep insights on the topic of waiting. Verses like Isaiah 40 and 31, which tells us that those who wait for the Lord will renew their strength, illuminate the concept that God's silence is not abandonment, but rather an invitation to trust more deeply. When we look at the story of Abraham and Sarah, who waited for decades for the fulfillment of the promise of God of a child, more was illustrated that divine times often do not align with our expectations. Their wait was not a simple break, but a crucial phase that prepared them to receive their blessings. I started to realize that the scriptures are rich in delay narratives that in the end conclude in divine action. Remembering that the logistics of God often involves a complex orchestration that we may not understand immediately. So that tells us that our timing is not God's timing. God's timing is not our timing. Old songwriter said he may not come when you want him, but he'll be there right on time. My waiting personal experience have been demanding and transformative. In these moments of desire, while I was fighting with feelings of inadequacy and confusion, I was forced to confront my expectations and desires. It was in this uncomfortable space that my faith began to expand. Every delay prompted me to prepare for prayer more fervently, stripping my illusions of control and forcing me to cultivate a deeper relationship with God. Through this process, I learned that the wait is not a passive act, but an active commitment with God, a moment to perfect my character and my resilience. My struggles with doubt have become a melting pot for growth, teaching me to embrace a faith that recognized both the weight of waiting and the certainty of the promise fulfilled. In retrospect, I understand that these delays were not obstacles, but essential milestones along my spiritual path. They serve not only to test my faith, but also to improve my understanding of divine times, helping me to appreciate that God's responses are often part of His major plan. While I continue to navigate on the uncertainties of life, I keep myself in the belief that every moment of waiting is pregnant with a purpose, a divine orchestration made with love and precision. Hugging this perspective allowed me to see prayer not simply as a transactional interaction, but as a dynamic relationship where the journey of waiting is significant as the answers I look for. In my journey of faith, I came to recognize that the delays perceived in the response to my prayers often mean the meticulous implication of God in the course of my life. Far from being simple setbacks, these intervals represent a complex network of divine logistics where each moment is strategically positioned to align with a wider plan. This awareness that God's timing is often deeper than my immediate understanding reflects. We can look at Joseph's biblical account. His journey as a son favored to a prisoner may seem filled with unjustified delays, but each difficulty served as a component necessary to orchestrate his possible rise in power in Egypt. Joseph's resilience in times of uncertainty illustrates a crucial lesson that I adopted. These waiting periods can be crucial for personal growth, maturity, and preparation for promises that must be held. On another occasion, I had long prayed for clarity concerning the next phase or assignment in my career. Months have passed without a clear sign, leading me to a deeper frustration. However, during this period of immobility, I was led to study and prepare for a crucial test for a certification that would refine my skills and build my identity as a counselor. With hindsight, I realized that these delays were not signs of abandonment, but rather the sweet boost of God to equip me for the responsibilities that awaited me. These were moments of spiritual training where I was stretched beyond my comfort zone, preparing for not only for the what of my future, but also for the who I had to become in the process. These experiences amplified a key truth that I have internalized. God's orchestration often works in the invisible fields of life, where every detail counts. I came to appreciate the depth of confidence which is cultivated by praying expectations. Each example of apparent delay has turned into a reaffirmation of God's commitment to achieve His promises at the most appropriate time. Thanks to this objective, the waiting periods are not adversaries, but fundamentally integrated into the tapestry of faith, where divine timing plays a central role by bringing us towards our greatest objectives. By recognizing the meaning of trusting in divine time, I understood that faith is not merely about expectation of fulfillment, but it's inherently linked to the posture of my heart during periods of waiting. Every moment of perceived delay became proof of my relationship with God, illustrating that His timeline is often different from mine. Although society often prioritizes immediate gratification, embracing the wait taught me that divine time is an expression of its meticulously loving planning and affection. It reflects not only the moment of arrival, but also the complex logistics involved in weaving elements of my life and the lives of others, all according to a larger narrative that I cannot fully understand. As I browse my own waiting periods, I deepen my understanding of God's character. I learned that your promises should not be understood through the lens of human impatience, but through the confident structure that their delays usually serve a greater purpose. It is in these moments of uncertainty that I witness my faith evolve, becoming a simplistic belief into a deep encounter with the depths of its commitment. Each challenge faced during these times have reinforced my belief in the firmness of God's love and guarantee that He is actively working behind the scenes, writing a much richer story than I could ever imagine. Through this journey of faith, I want to encourage other people who are in similar waiting phases. It is easy to be discouraged, questioning the validity of prayers that seem unanswered or promises that feel late. However, if we can change our perspective to see these periods as growth opportunities, we can discover transformative lessons in times of pause, exhort others to remain firm in hope, embracing the wait as a sacred space where God is continually working, aligning our desires with His perfect will. Finally, divine time is an invitation to trust God's unfolding plan, understanding that while we await our requests, He is preparing us simultaneously for the abundant blessing that are to come. In the investigation of the deep theme of divine times within the faith, we meet a concept that transcends our immediate understanding of spirituality and prayer. Divine timing reflects not only the moments in which we seek a divine intervention, but also the complex ways in which our requests align or do not align with a greater vision that exceeds our limited perspective. I remember a moment of my life in which I seriously prayed for a resolution for a significant personal change. Day after day, I poured my heart, looking for clarity and guidance. While the weeks turned into months without a tangible response, I found myself struggling with feelings of frustration and doubt about my faith. However, it was precisely in this wait that I started to recognize a deeper lesson. The potential of the delays perceived to reveal the active involvement of God on my journey. Instead of seeing silence as negligence or absence or abandonment, I began to conceptualize it as a deliberate pause, once for growth and for reflection. These experiences has illuminated the reality that God's timing does not only concern the response to prayers when we ask, but orchestratal of a sequence of events that in the end will lead to a deeper transformation. It has become evident that every moment of waiting was with a wider divine plan, which required patience, trust, and openness to the unmatched. Through this goal, I started embracing the idea that delays in prayer responses are not simply obstacles. In fact, they are essential moments to promote a deeper relationship with the divine and to forge our character in preparation for the blessings that are still to come. So in the end, remember, our timing is not God's timing, and the delay is not denial. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Rewriting My Story. If you could be so kind to follow, I'm on all podcast platforms. Hit that follow button, leave a comment, leave some encouraging words. You can even leave a discussion topic that you would like for me to cover. Alright, thank you again for your support. It means so much to me.